Welcome indoor cycling fans for stage 6 on the Swedish Zwift Riders Midweek Autumn Series. Last week we had to wait quite a while for Zwift Power to finally update the ranking. So here it is right before the start of the race. The leaderboard after 5 stages with a McDonald and RF in first, followed by Swedish rider Westerlund in third. And still part of the top 10 is Peters from the team. Today's stage is an event-only stage. It's a climber's Gambit. And it will prove to be an exciting race, but also a pretty frustrating race for RF as well, because he will be disqualified at the end of this race. As some of you might know, RF is a low-weight rider, and this watts per kilogram categories on Zwift are a total nonsense. It's impossible to get in front of a leaderboard as a low-weight rider, because as soon as you push on, you move up to the next category. Compared to some other heavier riders, you can do 3 watts and have a wattage of more than 300, or at least 300. And if RF wants to do 300 watts, it's 5 watts per kilogram. So especially on the flat, it's pretty hard to follow the pack. And we all believe that that's the reason why RF is disqualified. Just a pity, because if you follow the series, you may have noticed that on the flat RF was struggling. But okay, let's focus on this race, and we will see what happens afterwards, if we're going to follow this series or not. You can see on the top right hand corner, a lot of riders are being dropped at the moment. Pace in the front is fast. Here you can see it well. RF doing a 5.6 watts just to stay a part of the first group. At times it drops, but most of the time is above the 3.2 mark. Just to indicate, RF got disqualified with 3.2 watts per kilogram at the end of the race. So it's not so that he's doing a 3.7 watts or so. He suffers from a muscular disease, so it would probably make no sense anymore to race in Cat B. Now with more or less 43 riders in the first group. Still a big pack. So maybe let us know down in the comment section, what do you think about these watts per kilogram categories. Of course, we understand that there must be some limitations. Is it fair for low-weight riders? Share us your view on that in the comment section. RF at the back doing 5 watts. Here we are at the first climb of the day. A small jump in the race, 5.1 kilometers in. RF decides to attack. This was pre-planned, so of course his only teammate for the day, Ffwd, knows this will happen. Of course RF has to do this. This is the only advantage you have as a low weight rider on ZWIFT. He tries to make that first group a little bit smaller. He's not able to create a large gap. Bergsten from Sweden now in second, closing the gap. And Ffwd is still well positioned in fifth. The entire first group is stretched out. Just has to make sure he stays with the group on this downhill section. See Westerlund still part of the group. So Jehu and a Polish rider Whitlatch. Another jump in the race, 7.9 kilometers. The second group, it seems, is trying to get back. That's why Ffwd is pushing on in the front. Good job. So one of the reasons why we still decided to make this video. First of all, because all of you deserve this. All of you had a great race, but especially Ffwd from the team did some excellent work for his team leader. It looks like the second group is not closing the gap. 4 seconds at the moment. Well, the first group is a lot smaller now. Now RF going to the front, not on his blue Tron bike today. He opted for the new Pinarello F. He's pushing on. Trying to increase the gap over that small second group. Now they're definitely closing in. Rademacher from the Netherlands, Johansson pushing on, trying to close that gap. Ffwd once again in the front. There's Rademacher on that yellow Tron bike, the first one to close the gap. Once again RF with a push. He doesn't want to get part of that big group, he wants to split it once again. Because of course if he doesn't do this, will be hard on that flat middle section of the race. So he needs to come up with another plan. Once again, well supported here by Ffwd. The breakaway doesn't work. 23 riders in that first group. Now RF struggling at the back while we make another jump in the race. 12.1 kilometers. Riders are on another climb, 4% at the moment. RF in the middle of the group. Now doing a 4 watts equals more or less 240 watts in total. It's trying to break away once again. So, I think 3 watts is not going to be enough. No, it isn't. Now Ffwd from France. Seems to be a 10-year-old kid, doing well. He's now in the front, followed by a Zitzelberger from Germany. Looks like RF is struggling a bit. Like he just made it. He's falling behind. He needs to move up once again. Make a big jump in the race, 21.7 kilometers, right in front of the, right before the last climb of the stage. This is going to be a tough one, a long climb. Inclines up to 12%. RF trying to break away at the start, trying to put pressure on the rest of the group. Now doing a 4.9 watts. Immediately the group being strung out with a Szr in 7th position at the moment on the Bluetron bike. Maybe not the most ideal bike for this stage. Here's a 10-year-old Ffwd once again, taking over. RF trying to push on once again. There's a gap of 7 seconds on Westerlund, 9 on a weak clutch. He's definitely doing well at the start of this climb, but of course it's still a long way to go. Rhein-Ecke from Germany in the front, followed by Pluinek Frank from Sweden. They're struggling to keep up. Still in fourth, now in third. Like needs a bit of a rest here on that incline of 3%. Definitely the easiest part of that last climb. He's definitely struggling at the moment, only doing a 2.3 watts. Taken over by a weak clutch on the pink Tron bike. Now 12%. Just behind the weak clutch there. Just around 5 seconds behind. Still well positioned. Now almost closing in on RF. Now in the wheel of Hauswolf side by side with a weak clutch just up ahead. Closing in on a weak clutch. He's definitely struggling. Dropping power at the moment. Here's Ffwd, trying to help out his team leader. Excellent race from him today. Westerlund 8 seconds behind on RF. There's no sight of McDonald at the moment. Yehu 5 seconds behind on RF. Looks like weak clutch is doing a great job today. Going for a breather at the moment, going downhill, 9%. Now they need to push on. Can RF close the gap still with a weak clutch? He's now 4 seconds in front. And here's a Westerlund, almost in the wheel of RF, pushing on as well. 3.0 watts at the moment. RF doing a 3.9, trying to close in on a weak clutch. Who's in a group with Van Raven and Hauswolf. Also Van der Vecht, I think. You now 10 seconds behind on RF. Here you see it, when RF is doing 2.9 watts, it's around the 180 mark, so that's not a lot of power. So let's say when you're a 90 kilograms rider, you're doing a 270 watts for the same amount of watts per kilogram. Like I said before, this is by no means a take on heavier riders. It's just a complaint about how ZWIFT and the categories work, and that it disfavors low weight riders. This is the first group. Zooming in on Frank from Sweden. He's in a group with Owen and Pluinek. Still 2.7 kilometers left to go. 2.7 kilometers of hard climbing. It looks like Frank is trying to break away, pushing on. Pluinek in the wheel. And the two riders are dropping Owen from Wales at the moment. Switching over to a weak clutch, doing a 3.5 watts, and here you see it well. 3.5 watts for a weak clutch equals 340 watts more or less. So 340 watts for RF means approximately 5.8 watts per kilogram. So a weak clutch at the moment, doing more power. And RF. Of course, no attack on a weak clutch. And now Sci-Fi working for his team leader, trying to close gaps, switching over to a Jehu, who's in 13th at the moment, followed by a Westerlund. Great battle for the general classification between those two riders. 3 seconds behind Westerlund on a Jehu. Just up ahead there's a RF with a Sci-Fi. So Jehu closing in on a RF, maybe 10 seconds behind. Wiklacz speeding off in the distance. Now we're switching over to the head of the race. And, Owen fighting back. He's now in second. Frank in third. So a good job from Owen here. Trying to close in on Pluinek. Looks like Owen is closing the gap. Good job from the Welshman. And Owen now in first. Like they dropped Frank, who's now 12 seconds behind, followed by Van der Vecht in fourth, Wiklacz in fifth. This climb is called the EPIC KOM. You see exactly why. Brutal climb. Now RF in some trouble. He's not able to hold the wheel of his teammate. Tries to close in on that group. Westerlund 26 seconds behind and Yeo 9 seconds. Even if RF wouldn't be disqualified, he's not taking a lot of points over Jehu and Westerlund. Switching over to the first riders once again. Owen still in first. Now Pluinek pushing on in the wheel of Owen. So one of these two riders is going to win the stage. Yeah. Speed things up a little. That's why these two riders seem to go this fast. Although they're pushing on, of course. Looks like Van der Vecht is closing in. Great job from the Dutchman, now taking over on that yellow-green Tron bike. One of these three riders is going to win the stage. Who will it be? At the moment it looks like it's going to be Van der Vecht. But Pluinek started to sprint, doing a 7.6. Here he is. Now Owen taking over. And it looks like Owen is going to win the stage. Here's Wiklacz taking things easy at the end of the stage. Now RF. The one last final sprint maybe. Trying to pass Josefsson and Edvardsson. He lacks the power to take it all the way to the finish line. And here's his teammate who had an excellent race, excellent work for RF today, coming in 13th. And here's Westerlund doing a 2.6 watts equals 240 watts. For F, this would be 4 watts. So once again, guys, share us your view on the watts per kilogram. Is it fair for low weight riders? Do low weight riders have a chance in a series like this? And is it fair if they have to move up to the next category? Now we zoom in on our wall. 22nd at the moment. Also a Szr from Sweden. It looks like Wall is not going to win that final sprint. Coming in 24th. And here's McDonald. So if RF wouldn't have been disqualified, he would have done a great job today. McDonald in 34th. Into a sprint. Taking over on Lindbom. And here's the final Zwift Power Points ranking after stage 6 with here you see it well, RF dropping from first to fourth, being disqualified and out of the series. So we have now McDonald and Westerlund. McDonald in first, Westerlund in second, Wiklach in third. Wall moving up in fifth, Jesmaki in sixth, Yehu in seventh. Few errors here on the final leaderboard. But I still hope you enjoyed this one, and maybe we see you again another time.